今まで生きてきていいこと一つもなかったよ。
Nihilism is a state of denial and apathy. It is a mentality of nothingness. The world doesn't mean much and has no apparent value. The world is redeemless, painful and futile. Friedrich Nietzsche provocatively wrote about the death of God. It is not a literal death of a religious deity, but a collapse of the ultimate, the objective. God is the ideal, a path which must be followed towards the heavens. Or said more practically, there is no set of virtues and traditions to be followed. It had been an integral part of human history, and the death of God could only mean an amputation of something familiar. Without God, there was no ultimate truth. Without an ultimate truth, a monstrous wave of freedom fell onto people. And thus, with immense freedom and no guiding hand at all, nihilism ensued. Thorfinn experienced a similar progression on a personal level. His childish mind threw away all philosophy and morals his father had to teach him. Thorfinn's juvenile body could then only imitate the brutality and violence of the Vikings he was living with. Most importantly, his mind developed an ideal, a god, one might say, which must be followed at any cost: revenge. Analogically, the death of God in human history and the death of Askeladd in Vinland Saga led to a destruction of a way by which one can and sometimes must live. So we reach a crucial point in that development: slavery at the hands of freedom. Thorfinn, at the start of the slave arc, thought nothing special of the world. He rarely ever spoke, and only chopped down trees. Plagued by strange dreams, Thorfinn couldn't sleep. But what did it matter, even if his sleep is disturbed and terrible, as his life is? The protagonist finds himself at a standstill. What is the point of living further? The world offers only struggle and suffering, and even he contributed to that. For him, death was an answer, probably the answer. Death at the hands of Fox, who wanted to prove to him that his words are careless as to wish to be killed in such an indifferent way. Thorfinn felt only pain during the cuts, but no kill intent was sensed. Only when Snake came at him and swung his sword did Thorfinn's warrior body detect serious danger and dodged instinctively. The ultimate end is hard to be accepted. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. How would you live with all your mistakes and transgressions? Some have done terrible things. Will they be undone by your death or inactivity? Shouldn't you rather start redeeming yourself with deeds of good? Even in shame you try to give something of value to the world. You carry your own burden of evil, but you carry it forwards and help others along the way. You have insulted, you have ignored, you have beaten, you have maybe even killed. What now? Have you lost all faith in the good of the world? However difficult it has to start within you. Everyone is going through something. In Vinland Saga, Einar has lived through suffering and should actually hate Thorfinn for being a killer warrior. There often seems to at least exist a drop of redemption in people. People have good in them, however bad they might have lived. Live for others for once. As Thorfinn began to realize that the struggle for something better is way more worth it than his old gods of revenge and violence. So many great philosophers preach that suffering is the way, yet we choose to suffer the wrong way. In our heads, alone and arrogantly selfish. Instead, we should struggle for more good out there in the world. Thorfinn saw the abolishment of slavery and war to be a noble cause. Help humans, so humans help you. We are all suffering. Without God, anything is permitted. Here, the idea of God is not one of Christian or Muslim or any other religion per se, but that of a thing that one follows and believes in. It is a deep belief in something big, and often an unconscious one. Believe it or not, we all have gods which we adhere to. Why do you think that ancient gods embodied some particular types of qualities? We believe in beauty, intelligence, and maybe even evil. Some believe in certain people and some in Christ. The belief in love between people is a real one, as is misanthropy. But when the familiar ground under your feet has been broken and you lose belief in God, you are left in a state of nothingness, a state of an end and a beginning. In nothingness, everything is permitted, and everything is overwhelming. For that reason, humans have a preference for rules, because otherwise the world is too confusing. Man is then condemned to be free. Make your choice. Find something to push you forwards. The freedom which Thorfinn was offered was an abyss of darkness and meaninglessness. Where should he go, and what shall he do now? It is an oxymoron that he was a slave, when he is in such a state of freedom. But freedom means slavery, if you don't know what's next. In every human there is a sense for good, and that's what's right. Thorfinn constantly dreamt of his father and his message. He found himself on a sunny and a peaceful plane, and then was dragged down by his sins. By being coupled with a slave partner who wanted to work hard for his freedom, Thorfinn started caring for something again, little by little. The peasants were unfair to them, and Thorfinn had already lived through that, but seeing this affect Einar as well, Thorfinn finally loses temper again at the words. It was wheat grown by slaves. It would have been too putrid for anyone to eat. Both Thorfinn and Einar had worked so hard to plant their wheat and sell it, so that they can later buy out their freedom. And their hard work was destroyed in a day. Thorfinn had his final dream. It was high time for him to climb upwards, to climb and bear the weight of his sins. His hands were stretched out towards the skies. To believe in good is a struggle. To do good is a struggle, because we are all human. But good was Thorfinn's new destiny. To do good was a godly thing to strive towards. Thorfinn had to work himself out of his physical and mental chains, but this time for good. The world was a cruel place, and only a true warrior could lend a hand to someone in need. That is the catharsis of Thorfinn.
It is no longer good enough to cry peace. We must act peace, live peace, and live in